Hey, what's going on, guys? Coach Rob here at Rob's Fight Club in Horsham. Today I'm going to be showing you a little bit about your footwork and why it's important to have your correct setup. When we talk about setup, we're talking about your boxing stance, sometimes referred to as your true boxing stance because it's the stance you always have to come back to anytime you make any kind of movement. So for instance, if I move to the left, I have to get back to my boxing stance. If I move to the right, I'm back to my boxing stance. If I move forward, I'm back to my boxing stance. If I move back, I'm back in my boxing stance. Let's take a look at the stance and break it down. You see there's a line on the floor here. We're going to use this line to help get our feet in the right position. So when you're getting into a balanced stance, a balanced setup position, you want to make sure your feet are underneath your shoulders or just slightly wider than your shoulders. You don't want them to be too far apart, because if you get too far apart, you don't have any balance. You're going to be too extended, overextended on your punches. It's going to be hard for you to follow up with other punches. And you don't want to have them too close together, because if you're too close together, then you're off balance. You don't have any real support or stability there. So first of all, keep those feet underneath the shoulders from front to back, and make sure that they're not, too narrow, too wide. Also, you got to look at your width between your feet from left to right, so lateral movements are easier, and that you have stability laterally as well. You want to make sure that your back foot, the heel is on this side of the line, and on your front foot, your toes are on this side of the line. So you can see that there's a little bit of space between both legs. And the reason for that is just so you can you're not going to get knocked over. If somebody throws a hook from one side, you're not going to get knocked over to one side or go back on your heels. If I have both of my toes on the same line, as soon as I get hit to the side, I'm going to be on my heels and off balance, or if I get hit this way, I'm going to be off balance like that. But you can think of this similar to like a baseball player, right? If a batter's in his batting stance, if he takes that front foot and puts it over here, all he's going to be able to do is hit a shot to right field. He's not going to be able to pull a ball to left field and get his power to hit it over the fence. But once he takes that left foot back a little bit and he's got room to clear the hips, he can get into a nice powerful position here, get the elbow in. I call it the slot position. You can get into that slot position and turn through using your core and your hips to drive that ball over the fence, hopefully, right? So when you're in your boxing stance, you want to make sure you get a little room to turn that hip. Golf is another sport. You can get that hip turn through, you're going to hit the ball a lot further. So there's basic principles and mechanics that kind of are similar in boxing, baseball, or golf, or anything where you're swinging and trying to drive your power, drive your hips through it. But anyway, back to boxing, we want to make sure we can turn that hip. So when we take the full stance, feet under the shoulders, little width between. Now I'm balanced forward and back, balanced side to side. I'm going to take the hands, I'm going to bring them up. Now I want the back hand to be at my chin or my cheek, right in here. My thumb should touch my face, or my knuckles should touch my cheekbone, and that elbow stays right in there locked in. If this elbow is out here, you're leaving this open, and that's not a spot you want to get hit. You don't want to get hit in the ribs or the liver area. It's a very sensitive area. So this is always here. Anytime it punches, it comes back to here. Not sometimes, every time, bring it right back in. Your elbow just sits there. It doesn't take that much effort to hold it here. But if you bring your elbow up, now your shoulder has to do too much work. And now it's going to make your shoulder and your arm tired a lot faster. Your left hand or your front hand, if you're southpaw, it doesn't matter. That sits out in front of you a little bit. But what you want is you want this elbow to kind of stay down towards your ribs as well, with your hand out a little in front of your elbow. So you don't need to hold it in here when you're farther range from your opponent. Then you got to jab a lot farther. So your hand is out in front, the elbow stays down, and now you're not really going to look over it so much as you're going to look in between it. Because if you're looking over it, then the hand's kind of already too low and you can get hit. If you're looking at it, then you can't see what's coming at you, so you want to look in between it. Now this hand can catch the cross when it's coming at you. It's easier to block it here. It's not already hitting you because your hand is over too far. You can see, once this hand's in front of me, I'm blocking my own vision. So you want it to be like this, all right? and I'm leaning down a little bit just because we're trying to use the line on the floor to give you a good demonstration of the footwork and the balance. All right, so when we get in that stance, elbows are in. Now if you forget, if you're not sure if you're in the right position, just push your elbows together on your ribs, your hands will come up, and just try to touch your face with your hands, especially when you're on the inside. If you get in closer range, your hand's coming closer to your face. Your farther range, your left hand stays out in front and that hand out in front of the elbow more. Closer range you can get in here because you're going to be blocking a lot more with reflexes, and you don't want to have space where those hooks can come around your hand. But that backhand, most importantly, is always here at your face. Okay? So we're here, chin's down. Chin has to be down because if our chin is up, our head is wide open. You have a wide open shot. If I have to lift my hands up to protect my face, my body is wide open. So the elbows stay down to protect the body, then the chin comes down and hides between your hands. That's your stance. Knees are a little bit bent, and I'm always ready to push off my toes. Now you can bring that back foot up a little bit. Some people will be like this, up on that ball of the foot more, so they can really push off into their punches. I tend to be somewhere like this. I like to let my heels hover a little bit more rather than be up here, but you will see a lot of people that will get up on that ball of the foot in the back a little bit more. All right, now if we get into the actual punching, when you throw your jab comes out, it twists out, your shoulder comes all the way to your cheek, and you're basically gonna be looking down that arm. It's like you've got a telephone pole here, and you're looking down that telephone pole. No one's getting past it. You're gonna shift your weight to about 60% on that front foot, looking down through the eyebrows, and making sure that your weight is going down your arm. And this kind of happens all together. So your weight shifts right as your punch then hits, and your right hand stays here at your cheek. So if you watch the backhand, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do this, it doesn't pull back like you're shooting a bow and arrow. It stays right in here, and you throw that jab straight. So that's the jab, stay in balance, getting my weight transferred into it. You can throw a jab without a step if he's walking into it, or you're already in range. But if you need a little range, you're gonna step. Now, when you step forward, you have to make sure the back foot makes up the distance. So if I step forward, I push off my back foot in order to drive my weight forward. Now I have to bring my right foot back up in order to make up that distance, or I can't step again. So if I go here, I have to go here. Same distance I've stepped forward, I have to step with my back foot to make that up. If I go here and then I jab again, now you can see I have too much width between my feet, and there's no way I'm going to be able to throw another punch. So you always come back to your boxing stance. If I jab here, I'm here. If I go 1, 2, 3, I'm back in my boxing stance. But I never allow this to happen where I leave a leg back behind me. And this takes practice. Most people don't get this right away. This is where coaches come in. This is why you have to make classes. This is why you have to practice the right things. Because if you're home doing this in a garage and you're not practicing the right fundamentals, you're going to just be working on the wrong things. You're getting better at the wrong things. You might not know you're doing it wrong, okay? But hopefully this video helps you a little bit anyway. All right, so that's your jab. Pushing in, shifting your weight, looking down your arm. We're not here like this. Never have your chin up when you punch forward. You need to get grounded to the floor. You need to be shifting forward, and you need to be sitting into your punch with a little bend in your knees. If you're punching like this, there's no power. Your power is going that way. It's not going down your arm. It needs to go this way. Okay? And notice how my head's protected. When I throw across, I need to pivot into it. Look at how my shoulder's protecting my face. Because my chin is down, and now if you threw a left hook at me, you're going to hit my shoulder and not my face. My knees are a little bit bent. I'm pivoting, I'm driving my hips forward, and I'm finishing with my toes pointing at 12 o'clock, straight forward. We don't even have, the old-fashioned clocks anymore. So the kids, it's funny when I talk about 12 o'clock, they look at me like, what's 12 o'clock? But make sure you get the heel up and you get the toes pointed forward and your hip turned into your punch. Your first part of this movement is to bring the hip and the elbow together and then to release the punch forward. Not to bring it out and around and show that that right hand is coming. And you're going to lose power, and you're going to take too long to go around in a circular motion instead of coming straight up the middle, which is your fastest punch. The other thing you're going to do is, since usually you've thrown a jab already, and now you're throwing the cross, is you're going to take that jab and you're going to pull aggressively that left elbow back into your ribs, which is going to help you generate force into your straight right or your cross. Sometimes people don't know the difference between the straight right and the cross, but pull that left hand back. Now it's here to protect you, and it's taking your left shoulder back and driving your right shoulder forward, and also at the same time your core is twisting and you're generating force with your legs at the same time to get that power down your arm. Okay? Better to hit somebody with your full weight than with just your arms. Not going to hurt anybody with just your arms. Okay? So you throw the jab, little step, you pivot, and you rotate, you pull this arm back in, and that right hand goes straight out to its target. Now the difference between the straight right and the cross. A straight right comes straight out, comes up the middle, in between their guard, so you're trying to get it in between their gloves. Maybe you step left and throw it up the middle. A cross, they're throwing their jab out, you're coming over top of it, a little more of an angle. And then advanced, we have overhand rights and some long range like right hooks and things like that. All right, so your 1-2 combination, check your stance, make sure that your base is good here. Got a little bit of that back heel up, chin's down, elbows in, front hand out in front of the elbow, right hand on the chin. Pushing off the back foot, drive into that jab. All right, practice that first, just driving in and coming back. Then when you throw the 1-2, do it slow. Throw the jab out, pull it back, work on your rotation, and then come back. Jab out, rotate, and come back. Keep your shoulders loose, keep your shoulders down. You don't want your shoulders hunched up. It's just going to make you slower. It's going to use too much energy. Step into it, rotate, left arm pulls back in, aggressively into that rib cage, protecting your body. When we start getting into more punches, like the 1-2-3, we go jab, we go cross, we go hook, and everything shifts. If we look at the hook, after the right hand is out, left hand is here. It's not here, and I'll bet you 9 out of 10 people do this when they first start. They drop that left hand down, and then this comes as a big wild hook around like that. Break it down and do it slow. Loosen the shoulders, snap the jab out, rotate into your cross, rotate back and shift your weight from your left foot to your right foot. Bring your elbow up. Palm down is okay on the hook too. Just get used to throwing that motion. Basically, your elbow is bent, 90-degree angle, and you're turning and rotating. Your weight shifts from your left side. Now you got 60% or so on your back foot. Your weight went from one side to the other side. Right hand is here, back at your face. All right, that's your finished position, and it's almost like you're just bringing it into your back hand, kind of like don't let it go past there. If you throw a little longer range hook, because sometimes when you throw a cross, if you throw a long range punch like this, your hook is too short. If their head was here, it's probably not here, so you're going to feel like they're too far away. So what you have to do is you have to throw the cross, bring your back foot up, and now you can step into a hook and get a little bit more distance. Or sometimes you'll see people kind of hop into that hook and get a little bit more distance. It gets a little bit more advanced. And then you'll even see some gazelle punches and stuff like that being done where people kind of like shuffle into the hooks. Some of the old time fighters used to do that a lot. You still see that done sometimes, or like the Mike Tyson style hook where he just lunges up into the hook. But it's a lot more, it takes a lot more athleticism to get those feet to move like that and to jump into those hooks. And the hard part is doing it without leaning your face in. Another thing, when you're throwing your punches, you don't want your nose to go past your toes. So when you throw your jab out, you don't want to lean your head first and then punch. You want your head behind your foot, your nose behind your toes of your front foot. So you're shifting your weight forward, but you're not leaning in and making your head a big target before the punch comes out. If I go like this, and then throw across, I should have already been hit. So when you throw it, the head stays back, the nose stays behind the toes of your front foot, and you rotate into that punch with your head being here and your punch being out in front of you. Okay? It's not this. And if you're doing this, it means you're not rotating, you're leaning. You have to rotate. Your right shoulder comes forward, your left shoulder comes back. Now, could you lean into a punch? Maybe. Like if you got a guy moving back, he's going into the ropes, he's exhausted, you hit him with a hard shot, you're kind of like, you're wearing him down, and you just lean in and you throw everything into a shot. Yeah, that could work too. But for the most part, you don't want to put your face into danger. Keep your head behind your punches. Let your punches be out in front of you. Okay? Not that. All right, so I hope that helps you a little bit. One last thing on your hook. You're not going to feel perfect throwing that hook until you practice a lot and you get those muscles used to making that semicircular motion. Also, it takes a while to develop speed in your punches because you have to learn how to punch with your shoulders relaxed and tightening at the end of your movements. Practice just tighten at the end and loosen. Tighten at the end and loosen. Tighten, tighten, tighten. Not tight here. You're loose. Shoulders are down. Pop, pop, pop. Like you're snapping out a towel on those jabs. Bouncing the hand back off the heavy bags. Don't punch and leave them out there. All right, but on the hook, it's going to take a little while to get used to that snap. People are going to do this all arms. You're going to go through too far. You want it to be tight. Your shoulder, your hip, pop. It's got to be fast. But you won't do that until you've practiced it and those muscles start to develop in a way to where you have those fast twitch muscles firing quicker. If I'm too far away on the hook because I've thrown this right hand and I can't throw this short left hook, I can throw a longer range hook. So that's okay too. So instead of having to jump in with a hook, I can throw a longer range hook, but it's probably not going to have as much power. All right, but that is another option. So your jab is 1, your cross is 2, your hook is 3. Your weight shifts to your front foot. Your weight shifts again to over that front foot. Don't let your nose go past your toes. Your weight shifts back to your right side when you throw the left hook. And if I do it this way, it's going to look like this. Here's my jab. I step into it, or I don't. But if I step because I need the distance, I have to bring that back foot up a little bit when I pivot. Right? Pop, pop. When I throw that hook, boom, I shift back to my right side. So it's 1, 2, and 3. And if I get here, I'm going to be stuck. So you got to bring that foot up here to get your balance back. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and then back to your stance. That's pretty much it, guys, for today. But hopefully that shows you a little bit more how to throw your punches, how to keep your hands up. I want you working on good things. I don't want you working on the wrong things. If you do something 1,000 times wrong, you've gotten a real bad habit. So when you come in to open gym, I want you to break it down, think about these basic fundamentals, and work on doing it right. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Of course, our website is fightgetfit.com. Go to our Facebook page, go to our YouTube channels. Reach out and have a conversation. And if you're watching this for the first time, come in and try out a class. Rob's Fight Club in Horsham, fightgetfit.com. If you're a member already, just keep making sure you're making your classes. Work on the skills, work the drills. Right? The skills are going to help you to gain confidence, to work yourself into ring work and actually doing some real boxing. So keep it up, guys, and I'll see you in class.